Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach, and it's been a little while since I did a recording for at least myself. I actually got behind and I missed a Friday recently. I try to have 2 out every week, but I just didn't have enough, and I didn't have enough to make. I just had other things going on, so now I'm back to it. I hope the noise cancellation is working because my wife is upstairs doing some vacuuming, and I hope that's not coming through. If it is, I apologize, but that's the fun of recording when you're at home. Sometimes things are happening and you just have to record around it or through it or with it or whatever the phrase is. So a lot of my episodes have been on rocks and recording about rocks and improving it and fixing bugs and things like that. And I'm going to be doing some work on this application, which is just gathering exceptions. But before I get to that, I found it funny that I did all this work on rocks. And then I pushed, I think the last one was 713. And then some drama happened, not with rocks, but with Moq, which I'm not going to get into all the details of it. If you want to look it up, that's just look up Moq open source or Moq drama, or whatever the phrase you want. I still don't know if I know exactly what happened, but I think there was some reference that Moq included that was to a closed source assembly that did something with trying to track who was actually using Moq that was sponsoring it. And there were issues with doing that on builds with a Mac, and some concerns about privacy and a whole bunch of other things kicked in, and that all got pulled back. So, there's lots of opinions about what happened and was it the right thing to do and not the thing to do. And personally, my take on it is I think the implementation and the approach done probably wasn't really well thought out. But I think the necessity of people and really corporations supporting open source has to happen. It just does. I mean, there's a lot of people that have put a lot of work into products that are open source that get nothing or very, very little in terms of support. And yet they'll have people basically yelling and screaming at them, more or less, in issues and things like that, saying, this needs to be fixed yesterday, you're holding us up. And it's like, and how much have you helped out? If you're not gonna sponsor, then okay, but then you really don't have a voice. You really don't. Even that, I would say that being okay is arguable, but you don't have a voice then. You really can't say you're contributing or helping or being part of the process. So yeah, I think there's some things that definitely need to change, which will they ever? Who knows? But I did find it interesting that this happened. Everybody's like, well, we got to switch to NSubstitute. And I'm sitting over here in the corner going, I have a mocking library. You could check it out if you want. Hello, hi. And nothing happened. My downloads on NuGet did not go up at all. Maybe just a tiny little bit, but hardly at all. So I still want to put out there that I think it's a decent library, and it would be nice if people did actually use it more, because then I could get more insight into what people like or don't like. But I've been building this since 2015, and building it, maintaining it, doing all other sorts of work on it. And I don't think it's ever had any kind of usage. There was one project when I worked at Magenic consulting company I worked at for about 20 years. We used it on an internal project, and that was it. I don't know if anybody else has even used it. And that does make me a little bit sad. But for me, the payoff, as I've stated many times, at least right now, is it's given me a lot of insight into building packages, into the C# language itself, and a lot of the corners that you run into, how to build source generators. There's a lot of things that I've gathered just by building this, and you can read all the books you want. I love reading books, and I love gathering knowledge and learning and all that other stuff. There's a lot you learn just by doing. And so to me, the benefit has just been by just keeping up with it and keeping up with what's new in C# and .NET, and can that apply to the library and what doesn't it do well and things like that. So in any event, I'm still going to throw it out there. If you want to use it, I'd be more than happy to help out if you run into any issues, so give it a whirl. Speaking of rocks, I wanted to bring this up. I think I brought this up in a previous episode, this idea of interceptors that is not in C#12. It's an experimental feature, and it may or may not ever show up proper in C#. And I remember going through this document and coming up with just some thoughts around it, and I was kind of excited about it. And then a couple days ago, I started to realize I don't know if this is actually going to be helpful at all. And I put an update down here. The problem is that if I have a target that has a non-mockable method, and again, interceptors just work with methods right now, but I have something like that, and then you call this here, well, that would work with the design that I have up above, because I would be able, hopefully, to detect that you're trying to use a non-virtual and then find that location and set up the interception, and okay, that would all work. But I started thinking about it, and I'm like, the reality is that typically when you're making mocks, that object right there is going to be passed into something that's in all likelihood, not the test library, but some other library. And then you don't have access to the source code. Even if you did, and you could say, well, it's in this other library, that's not the way interceptors work. They're only for the library in question that you're using it on. But let's just say, hypothetically, that you could. Well, then how do you know that in this called instance, that when that method is called within some service that's using the mock object, that you want it to actually be intercepted at that point? That becomes really difficult to then trace down and track down and everything else. So I didn't want to say I was deflated, but I'm kind of sitting there going, I really don't know if this is going to be helpful in any way, shape, or form for rocks, just because it will be way too inconsistent to be useful. The only way it would ever work is if you called that method directly in your test, and that's usually not the way things happen. So yeah, I'm kind of sitting here going, I don't think this would be helpful. Now, there are mocking libraries that do things like hook the profiler API and then let you capture all sorts of invocations that way. But that's a fair amount of work, and I'm not entirely interested in doing all of that. So again, this is an experimental feature, so I have no idea if this will ever be put in C#. And even if it is, I don't know if I'd ever use it within rocks. So, but that's okay. I mean, I put some work into at least thinking about it and going, how would this work? And keep going through it over in my head and then ruminating on it, and then coming to at least my decision now is I probably would not use it at all. But that could change when there's more traction on this and there's more official word to say, yes, this will be in C#, whatever version it would be. But when that bridge is built, then I'll consider crossing it. So what I am going to start working on is this thing I called ExceptionalStatistics. I think I may have recorded a couple episodes when I was building this, but there basically are some things I want to do to get this a little bit more up to speed with what I currently do, and actually do a 1.0 release. I never did that before. But as you can see here, I got a list of tasks, add the packages props file, directory build. There's a couple of other things you can see I got listed here. I also want to do it so that you give me a solution file, and then I use the MS Build workspace to find all your projects and then the files within that project and go on that way. Most, if not all, projects these days that are modernized should be able to be loaded by the MS Build workspace, and that is probably the way I want to go. I still would support something like what I'm doing right now, which is you just pass in, well, right now I'm hard coding it to this because I've just been doing that to to go against the Roslyn source code base. And then I just go through and I find all the files and do my statistics gathering, and then I print them all out. And basically what I'm trying to find with this is if you have catches, a catch clause that doesn't have anything in it, or it's catching the exception or system exception type, and then you don't have any filter clauses in it or anything like that. And then if you don't, I consider them to be bad. And if you actually look at my tests, I think the tests probably kind of describe a little bit more about what I'm actually going for. And this would be a good one to update now for raw string literals. Gotta love those. So this is, where's one that check bad catch block when block is empty and no catch declaration is made. So yeah, this one considers this to be bad. And this one would be not bad because you're actually doing something within it. So this one is okay because you're catching it and saying it's okay to have an argument. This one is not because you should not be catching the general exception type. And this one I consider to be okay because you actually are doing something within the catch block. So I just wanted to see what code bases actually do things where they're not doing what I would consider to be good exception handling. And in Roslyn, the number of bad catch blocks is 51. And then I log here where that is and in what location, so I can actually go and look at it if I would like to. So if I say here, let's open that one up and let's go into code. And then where is it? At line 110. So you can see here that this log method basically says log, and if anything bad would happen, just move on. So you're kind of like just saying, hey, I don't care if this fails or not. You know, if it does fail, then we don't care. We just move on. Generally, I really, really, really try to avoid these if at all possible. Because if something does get logged, or if something does get into a state where you cause an exception, then this is basically saying, I don't care what kind of exception it is. And you could have some really, really bad exceptions happening here. But you could also argue and say, well, what could we do? The best we can do here is log, you know, and maybe this is one of those things that's so low of a base. It's like if it doesn't log here, and if we don't stop the exception from propagating, that could also be bad as well. You know, this is a design discussion that I've had with many people in the past, and generally, if this should be the exception, not the norm. So this one is basically saying, well, we have like over 1 million statements and over 4 million expressions, and within all that, you have 51 bad catch blocks. You know, and these are the ones that are bad, so considered bad. You know, but you could also say that in some cases this is considered arguably okay, you know, and it's justified to say that it's okay to do it in this case. But I still always feel very woozy when we do that. So I wrote this tool in order to kind of find these when they go on. And now I just want to update the tool to be a little bit more in line with how I do things. So we'll come here, and what is this? First branch. Hey, first branch. Okay, so let's make our branch and put my phone over here, so if it buzzes, it update. What did I call this over here? Projects and solutions. That works for me. You have one uncommitted file. I do? What is the stop it. Oh, it's because I changed. Yeah, I had this weird thing where I have on my external hard drive, I cloned it before, and there was like a directory in there that some of the stuff in Roslyn, there's like one directory where it's like, oh, this is corrupted. And I was like, oof, that doesn't sound good. You know, but I made it Roslyn 2. So whatever. It really shouldn't do that. We should be able to pass in the arguments to it. And that's another thing too with the program file. I think, Yeah, we don't actually grab the arguments. And that was another thing I was wondering. I made a comment recently about what is the considered to be standard for system command line these days. I remember I played with system command Dragonfruit on a couple of other tools I wrote, and it's never gotten to like a GA status or like a 1.0 status, I think. So I'm kind of wondering, okay, so what's the quote unquote right way to handle arguments in .NET applications? You know, I've been playing a little bit here and there with .NET Interactive notebooks or what they now call polyglot notebooks. And there they have commands that are very similar to commands that you get from the command line, when, you know, what you pass in. And so that feels like there's definitely some overlap there. But that's where this is coming from. So nah, we don't need to keep that. So let's just say, no, we don't care. And then let's go back and make our new branch. Update projects and solution. There. Okay, so a couple things we want to do here. We want to say 2023, this is now all, plus the using lang. We want to be on 7. Yep. And now we want to be on 1.0.0. So that's a couple things right there. And we do have some, I think, at least in that one does code analysis, and this one is got some here. So we want to do directory packages props. And we're going to have to give this a second. I just made the file, so we want to add an existing item, but the file itself is not in the right format. But what we want to do here is say item, I think it's item group. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go into rocks. No. Rocks. And let's just grab the one there. And yeah, that's fine. Place this file. Okay. Yes. Except we don't need all these. We just need one of them. Oh, and we also need to say, I forgot about that. It's another thing. I wish there was a tool that said, convert this to central package management, but that doesn't exist. Wait a minute. Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay, I was like, no, I know Rocks has been updated to do that, so you're just looking at the wrong file. So we go into the right file. We grab the one thing that we're going to need from it, and that's manage package versions centrally. So we come back over here. We say that, LM, and there we go. And then we do this. Now, I'm just going to do this manually because this one needs that. Come on, you can do it. You know you can. Okay, and then the test one, we have some there. I think there's actually, somebody created a tool to do this, if I remember right, but I'm just too lazy to go look for it now. Okay, so we have a code. Now that looks good. Okay, so let's come over here. Let's remove the versions now. And here, let's remove those versions. Again, this kind of stuff looks kind of trivial, but I like projects to be consistent, using new tools when they make sense. And I definitely like central package management. So that is one that I will use. So let's, and successful. If we run all of our tests, they should be successful as well. And then we're going to update all of our references to the latest and greatest because why not? They all pass. So let's go up to our solution. Let's say managing packages. What's updated, if anything? Yeah, let's just grab all the things. Why not? It's been a while. It's been a hot minute since we updated this project. So why not? I believe too that, yeah, say accept. Exceptional statistics. Do we have? No, we do not build a NuGet package. We're going to want to do that because We want this to be something that we actually put out in NuGet. Did I do that before? Have I ever made that before? Because now that I think about it, I may not have ever put this out there. No, I never did. So, well, exceptional statistics. Yeah, there's nothing, unless I'm spelling it wrong. But let's edit that because I want to say create a NuGet package on build. Okay, so we added the directory packages props. We updated this. We have analysis mode, copyright, target framework, and version. We did that as well. We didn't fix any versions, so let's say git commit and do added central package management and updated NuGet packages. Commit that. Okay, and then what was the next one? Do we have any warnings and errors? I don't know. That's interesting. Instance of the analyzer cannot be created from that. Could not load type. Okay. I don't know why. Because I think I'm on the latest of NUnit right now, so I don't know why this would be problematic. We have tests, we have NUnit analyzers, and we have the NUnit test adapter. And those should all, at this point, be updated. Yeah. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to put in here. Edit. Change all the verbatim or literal. Literal strings. Or I should say use raw string literals now. Because that's the thing we want to do. I'm just going to say yes. There's nothing in there like in fix some warnings and errors in terms of something with the project itself. And that's basically why I'm trying to avoid. So, okay, so we got those things done. So I'm going to stop here now for this episode. And the next one, we'll just keep moving. Again, these are simple things, but there are some things I want to do to rocks afterwards. So I wanted to take a task that I hopefully feel like is fairly simple and something that, as I was thinking about this project, I'll keep where it's at for 1.0. And do I have? No, I don't. That's something else I want to put in here. Edit. Get the directory from the command line. Update. README to be more informative. Add changelog.md, which I don't have. And see rocks. I'll know what that means. Of course I won't, but there's something you can put in changelog files that basically say what are the different types of categories that you change in a version. So, but in any event, I do want to have a changelog. I do not have one for this right now, and so I need to put that one in as well. So there's that. And the other thing I was saying is that this doesn't, it just looks for bad catch blocks or things like that. One of the other things I thought of to really make this potentially more interesting is to say, okay, see, this is just called exceptional statistics. So maybe I keep it that way, just, finding things that are exceptional, like bad catch blocks, and not do so much of an analysis on how many exceptions are thrown, because it's not just as simple as saying throw, like throw what, then you have to do analysis to look at what is potentially being thrown. Methods like argument null exception, throw if null, you have to now special case all those throw if methods that are being added in every single version and make sure that you're considering those to be thrown. So I think in this, I want to be very clear as to what I'm gathering as statistics is those, and again, I wrote this tool just because I wanted to see which code bases are out there that do things that I consider to be bad and why are they being done. And moreover, show that, if you're going to tell me that a code base needs to have try catch everywhere, which was when .NET first came out and when I did a lot of consulting back in the day, there were lots of clients I was at that would say, That's resilient coding. You need to put a try-catch everywhere in every method and swallow all your exceptions, because you do not want your application to crash, which is, to me, the complete 180 way of thinking in terms of what makes a resilient application. But I also want to show that it's like you can take a code base like Roslyn, which is what's compiling all your C# code every single time you compile your code, and it has all of these statements and all these expressions, and there's only this handful of cases. They obviously do not do this in every single method that they do. And if a compiler needs, if there's a application or an executable out there that needs to be resilient, it's your compiler. You do not want it unexpectedly crashing, if at all possible. In any event, in the next episode, I will be continuing on with this list, and we will hope to eventually get to a 1.0 version of this. We'll move on to some potentially rock stuff. Thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.